Very pleasant good afternoon to all of our viewers. We are delighted to be with you on Let's Talk this afternoon. We trust that you're doing well. We have a very exciting program lined up for you. Many of you at our meeting, our program a few weeks ago when we had Mrs. Selman, that is, where we were talking about nutrition and the whole concept of how our diet impacts our life and health. Many of you indicated that you wish for a continuation. Well, I'm happy to declare that she is back with us this afternoon. Before we go into the program, however, we want to invite you to have a word of prayer with us. Eternal Father and our God, we pray that you will be with us, be with our friends in Radio Land, those who are listening via Second Advent Radio, or those who are watching on YouTube or Facebook, whether they are watching via SLC Adventist or SLC Church channel. We welcome all and pray that you will grant that we will all be blessed today in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Well, we have again with us this afternoon Mrs. Esther Selman, who is the co-founder, should we say, director of Caribbean Nutrition Institute. We are delighted to have you with us this afternoon.
Good evening, and thank you again for inviting me to come and share with your audience and also with your church members.
It is indeed a real joy to be on today. I want to begin with this whole concept of the Institute, the Caribbean Nutrition Institute. I know we have a special program coming up. Some of our viewers are indicating that they're not hearing any sound. Let me see if I can reach my technician just to find out what's the problem might be. Just give us 1 second. We're going to try to work this out. Okay. Let me try to get our technician for a moment. Well, Ms. Selman, go right ahead and tell us about this institute. I know that last time we mentioned it, but one or two of our viewers may have forgotten. So just share with us.
Okay. Caribbean Institute of Nutrition and Dietetics is a nutrition and wellness company that focuses mainly on helping persons to be able to make healthy nutrition solutions, healthy nutrition choices. We focus on plant-based nutrition, in addition to helping persons with reverse disease like diabetes and hypertension and high cholesterol. We also have conduct several seminars, one of which would be a new health seminar, nutrition, exercise, and wellness seminars. We conducted those last year. This year, June, actually this month is just around the corner. June 27th, we will be having a team of presenters coming on and sharing about the science of planting continues. And our key note speaker is Dr. Neil Bernard. He is the president of Physicians Committee of Responsible Medicine, and his topic will be how food impacts hormones. Then we will have Dr. Lawrence Williams. She is from PAHO and WHO representative, and her topic will be the call to action, planting crops versus raising animals as a solution to world hunger and health. Dr. Elliot Duglin, he's a physician. He will be speaking about planting protection for COVID-19. Dr. Cheryl Rock, she's a food scientist and a professor at California State University. She's going to be looking at the ethon medicine, chemo-preventative potential of MOBI. Dr. Virginia Gray, she's a registered dietitian and also a professor at California State University. She'll be speaking on setting the stage for success, eating habits for early life. Mr. Timothy McClure-McCucken, he's from the Cayman Islands. He's the Deputy National Epidemiologist, and his topic will be Growing Old Gracefully. And yours truly, Esther Selman, will be conducting short cooking demonstrations on cooking plants, food as medicine.
Now, I want to, just before I go into some bits of things you shared there, some of our viewers, those who are listening on SLC Adventist, I understand that you are not hearing. Our technicians are working on that, but what we would like to ask you to do, if you have the link that was sent out today, you use the link or go to SLC Church channel. It's live there. It's been aired on SLC Church channel. I do understand that Second Advent is also problem-free. We apologize for this, but until our technicians work out that little technical glitch, you can go to SLC Church channel and you will hear loud and clear. So sorry about that. If you have the link that was sent out today, just click on that link or go to SLC Church channel and you will see Let's Talk live there. Thank you so much. I understand the problem has been resolved. Wonderful. Thanks for your patience. So a bit of our viewers missed just what you said there. So in a nutshell, if you can just say, give us the date again for this wonderful, amazing institute.
The date is on June the 27th from 9 a.m. That's a Sunday, from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. And they can go to the website and send me a link. Actually, my email address is info4, the number 4, CINDSERVICE@gmail.com. That is my email. You can send me an email and I will send you the registration information.
All right, we will have that bit of information sent out in our church notices this coming Sabbath, because you know the health department here at the South Leeward Conference definitely has interest in this institute. I plan to be there. So I'm looking forward to it. Now, this afternoon, we're going to talk about it as we end again. But this afternoon, we want to talk about the whole concept of childhood obesity. It is a challenge, I want to think. But let's begin, first off, by asking you, Mrs. Selman, how is childhood obesity defined?
Childhood obesity is defined by the body mass index. And I'm going to quickly show you the graph that health practitioners use. This is by the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. And so this birth chart is for birth to 36 months. I hope you can see it. But as I try to explain it to you, when you come to us as a health practitioner, we look at the child's weight and we look at the height.
Hold it a little higher, just a little bit higher. Yes, yes.
Yes. Right. Okay. So this tells you that from this dark line to this line right in here is where it shows you the healthy weight of the child. The darker line here tells you 50%. The child is at 50%. And then we have 25%. Now, anything above the 97th percentile, it is determined as childhood obesity. And the growth chart is for birth to 36 months old for boys and girls, and then from 2 to 20 years old for boys and girls. So that is the instrument that is used to determine childhood obesity in children. When a child is way above the normal, that is what determines for his or her weight, that is what determines childhood obesity.
Well, let me ask you, I mentioned earlier, I kind of pulled back because I didn't want to be saying the wrong thing to the world. the issue of childhood obesity is, I am thinking, is fast becoming a concern. At least I thought I've heard that in the media. Now, the Seventh Adventist Church has been given a health message that, if followed, I suppose, should significantly reduce occurrences of overweight in children. Notwithstanding, the issue is still very present among us. From your perspective as a nutritionist, am I exaggerating the situation when I say that things are getting out of control?
No, you are not exaggerating, because childhood obesity is a real problem. Obesity was actually defined as a disease in 1975. So from that time onward, we recognize that obesity is linked now to diabetes, hypertension. It's a chronic disease, and for children, it is even more of greatest concern, because obesity infects 1 in 5 children and adolescents within the United States. And let's assume that we had to look at data in our own territories. You are in Suriname, I'm in Barbados. But as we look around and as we check with the government ministries, we will recognize that when they do, if you were to check the data with them, we do have a prevalence of children with childhood obesity. And that needs to be of great concern. The prevalence of obesity it was 19.3%, and it has affected about 14.4 million children and adolescents. So obesity's prevalence among 2 to 5-year-olds is 13.4%. Among 6 to 11-year-olds, 20.3%. And among 12 to 19-year-olds is 2.2%. So we can see that obesity is a great concern, and it needs to be taken seriously, and we need to look at various ways in how we can manage this condition.
Very interesting. I suppose earlier you meant that I was in Antigua and not Suriname. That's all right. That's okay. I love Suriname, by the way. It's a wonderful place. And if anybody from Suriname is listening right now, I know we have a few followers there. Just a shout out to you. Let's talk about some contributing factors. What would you say is the main contributing factor? Can you give us also some examples of meals that may be damaging to our children? If obesity is such a concern, what is leading to this?
Okay, well, one of the main contributing factors is diet. Diet is the most important contributing factors based on the sugar sweetened beverages and the sugary foods that we consume. So I brought here today, this is equivalent to 6 teaspoons of sugar or daily intake according to the American Heart Association. This is what a teaspoon looks like. And 6 of these is how much we need to consume in a day. Now, when we consume sugary beverages, which is the sodas, they usually contain about 12 teaspoons of sugar. So imagine using about
hold a second. Let's get this clear. Hold up that glass again. Are you saying it's no, the other one?
But this one.
That much sugar in a can of soda?
Yes.
That is serious sugar.
That is a lot of sugar. And sometimes we drink 3 a day. So imagine this 3 times, and then imagine that 7 days a week by 7. So that is the problem that we are facing. And most times we do not really regulate the liquid sugar, because that's really what it is. The sodas, the sweet drinks, the sugary sweetened beverages, those are the liquid source of sugar that we tend to not focus on. And then we also have the pies and the pastries. We also have the sweet biscuits. There is also sometimes you can find sugar in chips. So sugar is widely distributed. And research have shown, some research, they have actually, as I was preparing and researching for this topic, there's some researches that says that when you consume sugar, especially children, it responds in the brain just as cocaine responds in our brain. So then it can become very addictive for us. And that is why I believe that that is one of the problems that impairs and impacts our children today. Another problem that is the main contributor, in addition to physical, in addition to diet, is physical inactivity or sedentary behaviors. Most persons or most of our children, they're not as active as they should be. And what makes it even worse, now that we are in this COVID-19 environment where children are going to are at home, going to school from at home, there's more sedentary behaviors. Also, they look at the screen time, the amount of time that our children should be at the screen. Research says 2 hours is a day is how much time we need to have our children watching the television or looking at the screen. But with the online environment, that will become a challenge. So we need to really monitor this and be able to help control our children as they do the online school, and then to give them time, monitor the time that they would watch television. Now, the other thing is that television viewing, most of the times the commercials are geared towards attracting our children and causing them to choose the type of food. So the commercials, also television viewing, they usually show you all the French fries, burgers that are loaded in calories. So those tend to be from problems.
I want to talk about
yes,
that for a minute, but
yes,
just to reinforce something. I mean, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words, and when you held up that glass just now, that was half filled with sugar, and you're saying that that is the amount of sugar we generally consume in a soda.
yes,
And in addition to that, there's sugars in bread, in other foods that we eat, in the pastries and those kinds of things. So it is very easy to put a whole lot of sugar into one's body without even sensing that, because a soda on the shelf of a supermarket looks rather harmless. Let me just ask though, before you go into the whole fast food thing there, is there a significant difference between the brown sugar and the white sugar?
Okay, slight difference. The brown sugar would have the molasses, whereas the white sugar would not have the molasses. And having the molasses is going to also be much more, I would say, better choice, because the molasses has the vitamins and the minerals, it has iron. So then when you look at it that way, you can say, okay, the brown sugar would be better than the white sugar.
Okay.
So that would be the difference.
Now let's talk about the fast foods. I meant to ask you, of course, you mentioned sugar. Of course, every time you go to buy a McDonald's or Kentucky Fried Chicken, you generally get a cup of soda with it. So the sugar is there. But how about the fats and the calories there from the fast foods? Can you speak to that a little bit? Because I know a lot of children who just absolutely adore that kind of diet.
Yes. Actually, I'm going to begin by talking about a study, a 28-day study that a film producer did, and it was called Super Size Me. You can go on YouTube and you can Google it. But his reason for doing that, some person sued McDonald's for causing them to gain weight. And so he decided that he would try this experiment for 28 days. After the 20, so every single day for 28 days, he would go to the cash register and he would say, supersize me. So he got larger portions. So if he got French fries, he supersized. If he got burgers, he supersized. If he got a beverage, he supersized. Whatever soda he had, he increased it. At the end of that study, he gained weight that took him 14 months to get off. He also had mood swings. He had depression. He had high blood pressure. He had insulin resistance. So there was a whole host of problems, not only from the sugar, but also from the fats and also from the excess calories. And eating that particular way, you're also going to be having poor nutrition intake. So it's going to be low in nutrients. So you're not going to be getting the nutrients that your body needs. And as we all know, that children need to get certain amount of nutrients. They need to have their calcium. They need to make sure that they get their protein for growth and development. Need to get the carbohydrates, those good carbs that are good for the brain, for fueling the brain. Glucose is a necessary nutrient for fueling your brain. So we want to ensure that when we do go to any fast food establishment and you are choosing anything, you want to make sure that if you're choosing a meal, that it needs to be wholesome, it needs to be having more fruits and more vegetables, it needs to be power packed. If anything, you're going to switch out and use water. You can infuse the water. Those are some fun activities that parents can engage to with their children.
Thank you so much for that bit of information. I trust that our viewers are listening and are paying attention, because this is very useful information. Now, earlier you indicated that the very young children, that first age category that you mentioned, it seems to me as though the percentage of obese children seems to be higher when they're younger. Based on the statistics that you shared. I am looking now at if my child is obese.
Obese.
Well, that's an interesting question. Let me go ahead and ask it, since you know I stumbled there, because I came across a news article some time ago. I heard it on BBC. I don't remember when. It's a couple of years ago, but the government was of some nation, not sure which one. They were preparing to debate in Parliament a law that would charge parents from for abuse if they had children over a certain weight. So this government was saying, we're going to put the blame solely and squarely on the parents. Do you think that that's a good move?
I would not directly charge parents. I think it's more a matter of looking to see what is going on in that particular family. For instance, as I researched this, I came across sometimes families cannot change their genes, but they can change the family environment to encourage healthy eating habits and physical activity, and which these changes can improve the healthy family members, and they can improve future generations of family members. So that is one thing that can happen. Now, obesity is not only diet related, it's also physical inactivity, it's environmental, it's behaviors, the type of behaviors that you're choosing. So also there's medical factors that cause children to get obesity. For instance, one of those medical conditions can increase a child's appetite. They can include hormone disorders or low thyroid function, and can also certain medications such as steroids and anti-seizure medications over time can cause the risk for obesity. There's also another genetic disorder called Prader-Willi syndrome. Prader-Willi syndrome is a disease that is present from birth, so it's congenital. And it is the most common genetic cause of severe and life-threatening childhood obesity. So some is all the time, it is not the family that may be causing this. even though families do have a great influence, and when I say family, I'm talking about parents, because if a child is have a football team and there's a celebrity coach or a celebrity athlete, that parent is still going to trump. That is the child is seeing the parent all the time. So it's important that parents model the behaviors that they want their children to engage in. So if it is that you want your child to eat fruits and vegetables, then you need to eat fruits and vegetables. If it is that you want them to drink water, then you need to drink water. If you want them to have a good, healthy breakfast, then you, in turn, have to drink healthy breakfast, because children are looking for you for guidance. They are looking for you to support their activities. And most importantly, they are looking for the parents to provide for them an environment that is safe and one that is not, well, and foods that are beneficial for you.
But there are some children that don't like fruits and vegetables. They scream. I don't know if it is that because the parents introduce them to sugary foods, they get that connection there. I watched a documentary the other day where they were saying that sugars in some foods serve absolutely no purpose other than to give you that addictive sting. And they were using some examples. They say, for example, you may, if you're baking bread, put a little bit of sugar for the yeast to do its thing, but outside and apart from that, you don't need to be dumping sugar in bread. And they're saying it really is because they want you going back. So is it that, or, I know some children just naturally, I've had people tell me, listen, I can't get my children to eat fruits and vegetables. What do I do in a situation like that?
But I think that you picked up my notes, because that's the first thing I have. Let's step back and consider what we have been giving them to eat as their first foods. Let's think about that. The first food should be breast milk. But instead of giving breast milk, now let me just say it this way, that there are some moms who want to breastfeed, but because of a medical situation that may have occurred during delivery, they may not be able to breastfeed. So because of that, they had to go and switch over to the bottle. But let's assume that the pregnancy was fine, the delivery was everything went well with delivery, and you can breastfeed. The first 6 months of the child's life should be breast milk. From 6 onward to the next 6 months is when you introduce complementary foods. What usually happens is we tend to introduce foods that are very sweet. So when they say foods that are very sweet, you focus on like carrots, you focus on sweet potato. So those are the foods that may be sweet. You're focusing on the sweet fruits. So again, sugar is fructose that's in the fruit. So then the child is going to still be getting those type of fruits. So it's important that we focus on introducing early from birth, from 6 months onward. When you are introducing foods, introduce foods that are more wholesome. I remember with our daughter, and at that time I was not into nutrition. I was not, studying nutrition or anything like that. But we would give her first food was lentils. We did English potato. We did pumpkin. And those are the foods that we would blend. No salt added, no sugar added. And let me tell you, when we tasted that food, it was so good. We just put a little onion in there and that's it. So I'm saying that we have from early to train our kids' taste buds. Now, let's assume now that your child still refuses to eat the fruits and vegetables. This is what needs to happen. First of all, parents need to be patient. You don't want to, to get irritable or anything like that. So you be consistent and you repetitively introduce the food on a regular basis. Another thing that you would want to do, and this is actually a study that was done by the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, it says that parents have a significant potential to influence their children's behavior. So parents need to sit down and eat the same food that you're giving your child. You sit down and eat that same food. The other thing that is recommended is that you want to make the food interesting. So if you're going to give them watermelon, make it into shapes, make it into stars, make it into circles, because they're already familiar with that. However, one caution would be avoid hard fruit or avoid raw vegetables, especially for young children, because it can be a choking hazard for our young children. So that is one thing.
I think I missed, you said avoid raw vegetables. What was the other thing?
Hard fruits.
Oh, hard fruit. Okay.
Hard fruits. Yeah. So an example of a hard fruit could be an apple. But it may be better to blend the apple, which is like applesauce. And hard fruit could be a hard vegetable can be carrots. But if you then cook the carrots lightly, steam it, and then blend it, then it will be appropriate, right? So those are some things that we can do. Another thing is that you want to avoid nagging, forcing them, bargaining. Bargaining is something that you want to try to avoid doing, or even bribing them. You just want to encourage them and offer the vegetable the choice. So the rule of thumb is, if at first you don't succeed, try and try again. So that eventually, so you may have to take 10 times or more, just trying to give your child this food. Now, what I usually recommend to my clients, though, the parents, kids like spaghetti sauce. And that's a very good way in which you can pour a lot of the vegetables in there. So like spinach, you can blend up the spinach, mix it in with the spaghetti sauce, and make it a one-pot meal. Add it with some of the pasta, because kids like macaroni and cheese. So you add it with the pasta. So in that way, they will be getting the food that may be, they'll be getting their vegetables that way. Blending peas with the vegetables is another way, and you create a sauce, and then you pour it over the meal. That is also another way in which you can get your vegetables. You can also make a nice soup, but you blend the soup with the vegetables. So that's another way in which you can get vegetables.
Now, that is very useful, but what if, so you're talking there, we were talking there about transitioning from breast milk to other foods,
Yes.
so that the taste buds can be correctly trained.
Yes.
But if I have a child, let's say the child is 4 years old, 5 years old, and the child is already obese. So we're talking about how we can correct that now. We're looking at, well, this we agree is a problem. So what can be done about it? But before you go into the specifics of treatment, how do I deal with this particular issue? The taste buds are trained. So my child already has been connected with and maybe is hooked on these kinds of foods. So the matter of retraining your taste buds. Now, this question is not for children, but for adults. And I'm deliberate in asking this question because I know lots of folks say, for example, the switch between white bread to whole wheat bread is so disgusting, some people say, and I'll illustrate this. I remember when I went to Carb Union College many years ago, lots of the students who came with me didn't want any whole wheat bread. They said they're not accustomed to that, but that's all they had in USC. Well, CUC then.
You see that, yeah.
So they had no choice. And I remember After about 2 months, one day whole wheat flour got scarce, and the cafeteria baked white bread, and nobody was able to eat it.
Wow.
This transition about training your taste buds, how long does it take, and what's involved?
Okay, well, it is 21 days to change a habit. So that is the reason why I would have mentioned earlier that you want to be at least 10 times or more. You want to offer the particular food. And children sometimes are great psychologists. So they know very well that you are not that if they refuse the food, you're gonna, because you want them to eat, you're gonna give in to the food that they want. But parents need to just continue, just be patient, and to continue giving that particular food. And the more you give it, like you said, you're retraining the brain, you're making that paradigm shift. You're also helping the taste buds to be changed. And that's like your when you were in college, they did not want the white bread anymore, because what has happened is that you had gotten accustomed to the whole wheat bread. So the same concept needs to be applied when we are trying to introduce the fruits and the vegetables to our children. And like I mentioned earlier, you want to make sure that it's fun, make it a fun activity. So this is where mom is not only preparing the meal, but children or child is part of the meal preparation. And you give them options and choices. So for instance, if it is that you have baby carrots, you have cucumber sticks, you have celery sticks, you say to the child, okay, tell me which one you want as a dip with your yogurt, or as a dip with hummus, or as a dip with cheese, or something like that. So you want to give them choices, but give them choices still of the food that is healthy for them.
Now, I just want to pause to take a question or two that some of our viewers are sending in. This question, you may have covered it earlier, but I'll still ask it. What impact does KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken, have on obesity? That's one question from one of our viewers.
Well, you remember I would have mentioned about the supersized study done by the guy with McDonald's. So that's the same concept.
Okay, wonderful. Here's another question. This question relates to, I suppose it's a training. Does the training start at pregnancy in terms of introducing our children to certain foods? This person is asking, I suppose the concern here is, how does the parent's diet during pregnancy impact the child and the child's diet after?
Actually, when mom and dad is thinking of starting a family, it starts all that time, even before mom becomes pregnant. So in other words, parents, all this time, all like now, if you don't have any children and you're contemplating getting children, this is the time to start eating healthy. Then you also have to remember that the type of the foods, like for instance, when persons are pregnant, they usually say, don't use any caffeine, don't smoke, don't drink. It's the same thing. You don't use the sugary foods. You start making healthier choices. You start choosing foods that are whole grains. You choose low fat dairy, low fat. You use yogurt if it is that you do use yogurt, or you use the plant options, the plant milks, and then you will increase your fruits and vegetables. You could incorporate more water or infuse water within your diet. So these are things that you can do to start from early, so that your child and you then would be on that right track of a healthier option.
Now, interesting. Thanks again for that bit of information. So let's go down the solutions road now. My child is obese, and I don't know quite what to do. If I just change the diet right away, I may have rebellion on my hand. What counsel can you give?
I believe when I deal with my clients, my advice to my parents first is to model those behaviors. Now, one pot in the house, there is not two pots. That's another thing that I counsel my clients to do. So for instance, if it is that a child comes to me and you need to follow a low calorie diet, one that would include making some healthier choices, the entire family is making those choices. Because one, you don't want the child to feel ostracized. Because one of I would say one of the things that can contribute to obesity is bullying. So the child is already also concerned about their weight. And then when they go to school, they're bullying. So we don't want to create that environment at home. You want to create a safe environment so that when it is time to plan that meal, everybody is around the table planning the meal. When it's time to go grocery shopping, everybody is going grocery shopping. And then, like I would have said earlier, then you can be creative in how you incorporate the vegetables, like I mentioned about mixing it to the spaghetti sauce, or making a one pot meal, creating a soup. These are some ways in which that we can incorporate them and make it fun, make healthy eating fun, and reward them when they have drank water. You want to reward them when they have used their fruits and vegetables, and applaud them for making that healthy choice. When they go to the supermarket, rather than choosing a chip and they choose an apple, you reward them. And you can start with a point system. And at the end of the month, or the end of the week, or the end of the day, and they would have reached a certain, whatever that maximum or close to the maximum point system, then you reward them, but you never reward with food. That's another thing. You never reward with ice cream. You do not reward with chocolate chip cookies. You reward with a non-food object. So for instance, money is always a motivator. So you can give them 10 cents for every time they make a healthy choice. And then you take them to the store and let them choose a favorite toy. They can choose a favorite book. And whatever they're choosing, it is still going to be something that is still wholesome for the whole family environment.
Now let's take a couple more questions that have come in. Somebody sent to ask about the use of molasses instead of sugar. Wants to know if I remember you mentioned earlier that the brown sugar is higher in molasses, or has molasses as opposed to the white sugar, and therefore, yeah. So this person is asking, can I just go ahead and use molasses instead of sugar altogether?
You have to remember that molasses still would have contained the sugar. Yes, it has the iron. It will be a healthier choice as it relates to a sweetener, but it's still going to have that sugar. So you still don't want to stay on the bridge of molasses. You want to vary it and have more dried fruit. Even when it comes to cereals, you want to avoid the sugary cereals. So you want to use like bran cereal. You want to use oats. You want to use cream of wheat. You want to use cornmeal porridge. Those are the type of cereals that you want to use. And then if you're going to add a sweetener to it, add fruit. I was taught from childhood to add banana to my oats and to add banana to my cornmeal porridge. And I do that up to this day. So I am saying these are habits. We have to start teaching our kids healthy habits.
So I have company in adding banana to my
What's
porridge.
that?
Yeah.
Yes,
so I have company in adding bananas. Yeah.
Banana and raisins. Banana and raisins.
Correct. That's right. I like to put raisins. I like to put my pumpkin seeds and that kind of stuff. You know. But let's go back to this cereal because you know it again, the frosted flakes that has all these nice looking cartoons on them. And as you mentioned, the advertisements, you know, on so many of these television programs that make children believe that this is the way to go. So they're using these cereals loaded with sugar, and then they're adding milk to it, and and they're eating that, and that's what they're going to school on. You mentioned earlier that there was some research you cited where the sugar had some kind of effect similar to caffeine.
Cocaine.
You mentioned
Mhm,
cocaine.
mhm,
That's even worse.
Cocaine. Cocaine.
Wow, that's pretty serious. So are you therefore saying that I should not give sugary cereals at all to my children?
You should not.
Okay, that's straight
Sugar
and to the point.
straight and to the point. No, I want to go to share how to read the labels, how to read the nutrition facts on the label. So it starts with, and I was looking around me just now to look to see if I had anything that had a nutrition fact. So I could have had that visual for you, but we're just gonna imagine that we have a product and it has a nutrition facts on it. Now the first ingredient, after you see the word nutrition facts, the first word that says, it says serving size. Then below that, it says servings per container. And then it says amount per serving. Now, amount per serving, and it has total fat, saturated fat. Sometimes you will see trans fat. Sometimes you would see poly on monounsaturated fats. And then below that, then you will see cholesterol, you will see sodium. Sometimes you will see potassium. Then you will see carbohydrate. You will see fiber, sugar, and protein. So those are the numbers. Now, if it is that we are choosing a cereal and we want to know if that is the appropriate cereal for you or your child, then you need to look at the sugar content. And the sugar content, according to the new food guidelines, they have to indicate any added sugars. So when you see sugars and then below sugars, you see added sugars, you know that has an additional amount of sugar in that particular product. And then I would say, leave it alone. Now, the other thing is when it comes to the number for sugar, you want it to be less than 10. If it is fiber, you want it to be more than 3. So those are two numbers that you want to focus on. So the more fiber that is in that particular product, that means it is good. So if it has 5 grams of carbohydrate, 5 grams of fiber, then that is an excellent source of fiber. And if it has like 2 grams of sugar, that is, wow, we want that. And if it doesn't have anything about no added sugars, that is even good, because they have not given other sugars. And when I'm talking about other sugars, I'm speaking about something that has syrups. So it may say corn solids, or it may say brown rice syrup, or something like that. So, or it may say even molasses. So those are other ways in which we can look at the product to know if it is acceptable. If we are looking at total fat, then it needs to be less than 3. If it is saturated fat, it needs to be less than 1. If it's cholesterol, it needs to be less than 20. And for low sodium, it needs to be less than 140. I know that sounds like Greek, but that is an easy way for us to remember, to know if we are choosing a product that is healthy.
That's very useful information. Now I want to say to you, you can go the video over when we are done. You will find this episode on SLC Church channel. All right, for those of you who are wondering, how can I watch over Let's Talk? It's on SLC Church channel, so you can go back and replay and get those numbers. Our time is dwindling away. I want to ask you this question. Now, somebody had sent, if we can do this quickly, somebody had sent to ask about the whole issue of the different sugars. You hinted at the fact that you can have fructose and sucrose and other kinds of sugars, and of course the syrups, as you mentioned, so that we know. But so we're going now, I mean, you looked at the nutrition facts on the label. I just want to stitch in here the ingredients now, since you went to reading labels. Can you just briefly say how people should look at the ingredients label and what are the implications there?
Yes, it's important that we read our nutrition facts and read the ingredients on our products. And the reason you want to do that, because you want to ensure that right now we are dealing with childhood obesity. So we want to make sure that the amount of calories that we are consuming is appropriate and is also within the guidelines. So for instance, if it is that you're going to choose chips, any snacks needs to be less than 100 calories. And that's where you get the toss up of a fruit being healthier for you and better for you because it's 60 calories. But when you choose a potato chip, that's over 150 calories or over 100 calories. So you get more mileage, as it relates to the different types of sugar. Yes, we have fructose, we have sucrose, you have all them, but chemically, they are all broken down the same way. What I do want to say, however, that the preferred fuel for the brain is glucose. But that glucose needs to come from complex carbohydrates. That means our whole grains, or starchy vegetables, or ground foods, which is potato and green bread, green bread, banana, green plantain, those foods. We also have our whole grains, which would be your brown rice, your oats, your millet, your buckwheat, your barley, your sega. That's the preferred fuel. Your whole grain bread, if it is that you're using bread, that is all of those would be the preferred fuel. The fruits, the legumes, your peas and beans. So when we are looking at a plant-based diet, that is the way to go, especially when we want to ensure that our children get the nutrients that they need for growth and development, and also to make better choices, and also to make sure that we reduce the incidence of uh, childhood obesity, because any research shows when you have a child that is obese, it leads on to an obese adult. And then what the adverse effects of childhood obesity is high blood pressure, is insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, and they all of them lumped into a condition that leads into adulthood called metabolic syndrome, which deals with lipidemias, hypercholesterolemia, is a whole other concerns that can affect our bodies. So we want to make sure that we just be simple. Sorry.
Very interesting. I want to ask you one last question before we talk a little bit about this Nutrition Institute again. We are Christians. I mean, many of the persons listening are Seventh-day Adventists. I want you to put this in a spiritual context. We have a responsibility to take care of our bodies. And we're talking here about childhood obesity because we sense that it's a problem that is reflecting negatively on God's people. So put that in a spiritual context. You have 30 seconds to do that.
Okay. Genesis 1:29. God gave us the diet that we ought to be using. Fruits, grains, nuts, and seeds. Genesis 3:18 is when vegetables were introduced into the diet. God said to the Israelites, he does not want none of these diseases upon them. And the diseases back then is the same, similar to the ones now, where you have obesity, you have diabetes, you have all of those conditions. God wants us to be in good health. And that's why he said in 3 John 2, beloved, I wish above all things that you may prosper and be in health, even as your soul prosper.
I'm going to try to squeeze this question in because I have some mangoes on my kitchen counter. Somebody's asking, in this mango season, I can take a photo and send it and WhatsApp it. Now, in this mango season, somebody's asking, how many mangoes constitute too much mangoes?
That is a really good question. And I'm going to answer that two ways. If you are a diabetic and you want to eat a mango, make sure that it is firm from green to ripe. Depend on the size of the mango will determine. So if you have different size mangoes, remember this, half a cup is considered a serving of a firm mango. The riper the mango gets, the more fructose it's going to be, and then it's going to respond in your body like a speedboat, where it goes into your body fast or so. Then it's like if you were to drink a sweet drink. So moderation is what I'm going to say. But if you don't have any issues with diabetes and you're going to use at least 2 or 3 mangoes, just make sure that you get some activity after. So to get some light walking, not too strenuous, but at least go walking, because energy in, energy out.
Wonderful. Now tell us about the date for the Nutrition Institute again.
Okay. Yes, the conference, the theme is the Science of Planting Continues, and that on June the 27th from 9 a.m. It's a Sunday to 2 p.m. And I also put my contact information in the chat so that you can share that if any person is interested and need to get more information.
Okay, very well. So info for send CIND service at gmail.com. And
or you can send me a WhatsApp.
Yes, the telephone contact, the WhatsApp
number is 2626.
Well, let's give the error code. Let's give the error code. 246.
Yes.
246, that's the error code. Then 261 39.
Yes. 261 336.
All right. So now those of you who are listening, I'm going to tell you this up front. There is a registration fee, but it is worth it. All right. It is more than worth it. You know, we have to make investments in our lifestyle, in our health, and this is a worthwhile investment. So go ahead and pay the $80 US if that's what it is. I can't remember what it is, but go ahead and pay the registration fee. You're going to get information that you will not regret. Next week on Let's Talk, we're going to be having an important discussion with the Executive Secretary of the Caribbean Union. We're going to be talking about rebaptism. Do I need to get rebaptized? And if so, under what condition? That promises to be a very interesting discussion next week on Let's Talk. Sister Selman, we were so blessed by your contribution to our Let's Talk program this afternoon. We thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you sometime in the future. We wish you God's blessings, and we will see on the 27th, it is, right? On Sunday, the 27th, in that nutrition seminar. God bless you.
Yes. Thank you.
Keep safe. And until next week, we will be right back here on Let's Talk. God bless.
Yes. Thank you. Thanks, my